Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. Well, you've been on my mind all night, and here I am this morning telling you about it. I'm thinking about how we can straighten the situation out. And I'm reminded that last night I was watching the tube, and I saw Governor Desantis, and he came on the scene, had this little conference, this news bulletin. And he had all his officers around him, people who are associated with supposedly justice and law, or should I say law. And he was talking about some action that he had taken. Supposedly, he had gone out to try to see if he can identify some people who possibly have voted and for one reason or another shouldn't have. So he was boasting that he had rounded up about 20 individuals, people who had perhaps, as far as my understanding goes, had been in prison and probably had lost their right. But I also heard that some action had been taken that allowed them to be reinstated. And another action followed that to try to rescind that. Everything for one reason or another, trying to keep these people from voting. And so he had rounded up 20. And I guess this was to indicate that there were people out there that who perhaps voted and should not have voted. Now, that doesn't say that these shouldn't have voted. Apparently, there's a confusion there that needs to be cleared up. But that 20, and I'm sure you can add to that, but would it equal 7 million by the number on which Donald Trump got beat by? But what really got my attention was what he was saying and how he was saying it. It was like he was I saw him just like I saw Trump, a big bully. And it seems as though he wants to give the impression that he's a bigger bully than Donald, just by the things that he's saying. It amazes me that he is trying to reach an audience that says, this is what we want. We want a bulldog in the bin. And so you want to be our bulldog, go for it and we'll back you. And I'm just thinking about how crazy this stuff must be to have to go through this kind of stuff, and other people who perhaps are so far from thinking like that, and yet they got to have this imposed upon them. So what happens in a situation like that? So as I watched this guy, Desantis, sitting there grandstanding before the media, perhaps all across the world. And so I'm thinking to myself, wonder why is this guy representing this side of town? I mean, I'm really thinking this. He's going to go out and do these kinds of things. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share something with you, and I'm sure you would agree. What he has done and how he's doing it. And when you think about this lady down who just defeated Miss Cheney, if you ever listen to the rhetoric that she throws out there, I mean, she sounds just as vicious as Trump. I mean, really, to me, she sounds just as vicious. And then talking about the FBI going down, messing with Trump. I mean, Trump is just another citizen just like I am. And he has no more rights to anything than I do, whether it has to do with government or the system or just life itself. And for people to be raising this kind of hell because he's being treated like anybody else. And not only that, do you listen to one thing that's coming amongst all of these guys? They are all end up talking about killing. They're all talking about destroying it. And see, even the premise for that says that this is what destruction, this is what evil is about. Division, conquering, lying, and cheating, creating. They are known by hatred and racism. All of this identifies that which is anti-God, anti-love. Now, when you think about how evil these people speak, when I say evil, I'm talking about this negative stuff. They don't have anything positive. They don't see a situation that you can grow from. And I say they don't see it because if they do, it's silent. What do I mean? How would love approach the situation that Desantis was talking about? DeSantis wants to go and get him, and if he could, he'll throw him in prison. You said he said if they have some restitutions to make that restitution, and probably fall into some other lines to show that who's dominant, man system, man government, and especially white supremacy, and that's what it's all about. That is one of the underlying premises, not what it's all about, but it's one of the underlying premises. And then you sit there and you say, if this had been a gentleman who had a heart, who could see these guys who having problems getting a chance to have a voice in a government that probably played a major role in what they had to commit themselves to in violation of the rules and regulations that got them in jail. They can't say anything, but knowing that this is very important, we need to know what the cause is. We need to know what you're saying. This is how we learn how to address it. And go to you, making sure that the obstacles that have been in your way are removed so that you can breathe the freedom of life like any and everybody else. I wonder what would it have been if it had been something like that? What would it have been if for Donald Trump to come into the office of President of the United States and said, there's a lot of pain and suffering going on in this country, and I don't like it. I want to do something about it. I might have to rock the boat, but I'll rock that baby. And I'm not ashamed, because what I'm trying to do is make it better for everybody. And making America great means making it great for the first time. If he had come into the office like that and said he's going to do everything he possibly can to make sure that everybody got a job, and the kind of job that was decent enough to allow them to live a decent life in this country, that they would never have to suffer lack of housing and education. No way, brother. And they wouldn't be overburdened with debt. What if he had come in and said, we're going to make sure that everybody who's been denied health care get health care? We're not going to allow that to happen anymore. What if he had come in and said that? That meant he would have been a lover. And most of the people of this country would have loved him. Some would have hated him, because it's not about that. The system is not about that. And to maintain that, the system would have to change. But it would be reflective of the will of the people. See, right now, we have bondage imposed on us. We don't think about it because we've been living it all our lives. And anything better we've been promised after we die. But see, we don't have to wait that long. Just look at what we consider as wealth. Look at what we consider as being important. We say that most of the wealth of not just this nation, but of the world, rests in the hands of 1% or less. They own it all if you're talking about stuff that gives them power and authority. And the rest of the world, a humongous number, struggling amongst those crumbs that are left. Yes, in a situation like that, we end up finding ourselves doing something, violating some of those rules that have been established to protect them in what they have done to us. Because you can see, they get away with it. Well, why am I saying this to you? Just to wake you up, just to let you know that if you can't see it, look at the ones that are wealthy. The richest people in the world. The multi-billionaires, the millionaires who can just build them spaceships. And then they take other billionaires and millionaires up in space so they can float around and see what it's like to go out of that. Can you imagine? While the rest of us are like, with the stuff I saw in Oakland, California, the poverty that's in every state, people are suffering. And these guys coming in want a Rambo, going to go in and change, beat everybody else down and show who's. I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Man is not bigger than God, and God is what identified as righteousness. I'm spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. Black, white, men, women, American, everybody else. Because the resources of the earth are given by God to all that can use it. And everybody here on this earth have to have certain of these to experience anything about life. And everybody got something that they can do to participate in it and make them deserving. And once they've done that, there's no shame, there's nothing. God has been respected. People are showing it through respecting one another, and they are reaping the benefits thereof. And somebody sitting there trying to deny that need to be told to go somewhere and sit down. So I'm telling people like Desantis, you need to go sit your evil self down. And Trump, you need to sit your evil self down. Now, why am I saying this? Because the pain and suffering that you brought to the people, that the pain and suffering that we all feel. We're not stupid. You know, knowing where nobody trusts you, taking that stuff to Mar-a-Lago, wherever you live out there. People don't trust you. They know you're a crook. And they know you will do anything because you care about nobody but yourself. You've shown that. And then you got your defenders out there. They must be just like you. And then they want the rest of the nation to put them in office so they can stick it to us the same way you were trying to do. It doesn't make any sense. Ain't nobody trying to punish you. I'm not trying to punish you. Everybody knows, according to the way things are set up, that you're supposed to be locked up. But I'm not trying to lock you up. I know where you come from. You were raised. You didn't come in the world like this. This is what you were taught. The conservatives, they are wonderful people, but the way their attitudes about life is what they were taught. They were taught to be conservative, and everything that conservative is, that's what they were taught. Conservative means that somebody got to suffer, just make sure it's not us. So that means they need to grow. They need to learn. Now, who's going to teach them? Their history is not going to teach them. The one that's going to teach them are those that's not going to take it and say it's over and prove it. That's when they learn. But how many people are willing to do that? Well, I look at it like this. People who are not willing to do that definitely are not in a position to rule, because you got to if you want to be a good ruler, you got to be a lover. You got to be a lover. Haters, they'll get you somewhere, but and if you don't get off that path, they'll get you to hell. So I'm saying the rulers that we have not that necessary amount of love. And it's not just them, it's the people that's being ruled. They don't have enough love to resist the evil. So that's just to tell you, give you a picture of what I see, and I'm telling you. Now, how you respond about it. The evil ones, the low-down, dirty ones who represent the pit of hell cannot see anything but disgust. And the top that disgust off, they could just see me in the pit of hell, and they're just willing to send me there as quick as they possibly can. That's the low-down, dirty ones. Those are the ones that just filled with hate. Now, they were raised. They didn't come in the world like this. Sometimes they put you in the mind of wild animals. You ever been or seen something about Animal Kingdom? You see how animals, many of them live? You look at cows, look like they just eat and graze and eat and graze and maybe have some more cows, eat and graze. And then all of a sudden somebody come and cut their head off out of the blue. What I do to deserve this? Now you sitting up on the table, somebody having a good time. Then you think about the big snake that comes and sees something. He just roguing through the grass trying to take advantage of somebody a little bit weaker. Sometimes they take on some victims that's much bigger than they are, but they open up that mouth, and consume it all. And then you see the birds flying in the sky just looking down for some victim. Woo, woo, and they come and eat them up just like that. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. That just seems like what we human beings are like. And to me, look like we should have matured from that. Or is that where we're headed to? I don't know. As long as that exists within the human experience, it could be either way. But my whole mission, ladies and gentlemen, is to bring it front and center and challenge you and tell you that you're acting like what we used to call a devil. I'm talking about those who are acting like that. You know who you are. And I'm saying to those who are not acting like a devil, you are contributing by allowing it to happen. You got to resist this. And I'm not talking about violence. See, this is how you tell the difference between the resisting. Those who stand up and start raising hell and trying to cause violence and that kind of stuff, that's from the pit of hell. These are guys who are trying to play God. They're going to force you to do something. See, that's what man does. He try to force you. Force you. I'm going to force you. No, God leads you, guides you. Love leads you. Love guides you. That gotta sometimes go through a lot, but love goes through a lot because that's what love is. But love don't bend. So they'll stand up and resist. Resist. Sometimes it make the most ugly stuff in you come out. Sometimes it takes that before you know how ugly you really are. Especially when you go against something that's beautiful as love, the true love. So who cares? No. There's a difference between lovers and haters. Now, we got the election coming up in a couple of months, this midterm, and we will see. Thank you.